What's up, YouTube? It's me, Demi, with a reworked Cospri's Discharge Assassin. So this was Discharge, but now it's Frost Nova, Ice Nova, whatever, and Glacial Cascade. So I'm just scaling a bunch of like crit multi, spell damage, cold damage, you know, all sorts of good stuff. And I did actually manage to get Uber Elder down with it. A little bit worried about this. A little spoopy, but nothing crazy. I could have gone without the Quicksilver. I knew the Poacher's Mark would come in handy. Oh god, I'm sorry. Why? Oh god. Small place. I'm fine. Everything's fine. No. Oh. Dead. Oh god. Oh god. This is bad. This is bad. We're fine. Oh no! Oh, I didn't have a freeze flask. Fuck, I was doing so well. I was so close too. For the first try, I mean, I'm doing pretty good. I always get the shit stuff. It was pretty smooth, honestly. I made one mistake because I ran out of freeze flask. But other than that, very easy run actually. But yeah, we're using cospri, which allows us to do this. We can just shield charge everywhere since any melee attack that you have that crits will cast socketed spells in your cospri. So I have my Ice Nova in there. And that allows me to just run around with my shield charge, and as long as I crit with shield charge, then everything just explodes. And if I need a little bit more damage, or a lot more damage in the case of Uber Elder, then I can just Cyclone and start spamming out some pretty OP Glacial Cascades. Or if I'm doing like high tier delves or whatever, then I'll just Cyclone for the majority of the time, just shield charge every once in a while to proc Fortify. But yeah, pretty good. We are CI, we managed to hit exactly 10,000 ES with a quick little crafting swap. Ooh, look at that ES. How do I lose 10 ES? I can recraft the percent on my chest piece, maybe? It was 72. What if I do 71? 71. Yes! It's perfect. That was okay. That was amazing. That was pretty cool. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do that, but I managed to. And other than that, I mean, I'm wearing pretty, not like holy shit OP ES gear. With how easy it is to craft ES gear this league using dense fossils and like attack fossils or caster fossils to get your extra like mods and stuff, it's very easy to get serviceable ES gear, and you should be able to achieve like 10k plus ES without much effort. My chest piece is only, I believe, 470 ES right now. It's pretty garbage. You could very easily get like an 800 ES chest or 700 plus at the minimum, you know, and be just perfectly fine. CRONCH. But yeah, I don't know, I just wanted to remake the character because Discharge, well, it is really fun. It's also, it requires you to wear Evolve's Devotion, Evolve's Protector, and you're kind of strapped for unique slots when it, or for gear slots when it comes to like getting your stats and resist requirements. So doing this one, the only unique I'm wearing is a Cospri's Malice, which you also don't need. You can just as easily throw in like a hits can't be evaded dagger with some multi-modded garbage on it and you'd be fine. So let's go ahead and talk about all this stuff. Ascendancy wise, we are an assassin. Same reason as always, we want a bunch of crit stuff, so we get quicker multi, crit strike against full enemies, full life enemies, low life enemies, culling strike on our crits. There's just a ton of good stuff here. You can't take reflected damage from crits as well, so if you feel like trusting the hands of the RNG gods, you could try to run Reflect Mouse, but I don't recommend that. And then when you're fighting bosses, you get 100% increased damage when there's only one nearby enemy. Pretty solid. You also get no extra damage from crits when there's only one nearby enemy, so that Shaper fight, he can't slam crit you because he can't deal extra crits. If you can tank the slam, you're good. We get a bunch of power charge generation and a bunch of quicker multi here, base crit with power charge max, maximum power charges. It's insane. In order, I'd recommend you do, let's see. Probably gonna want to do Unstable Infusion first, then Deadly Infusion, then Opportunistic, and then Ambush and Assassinate. As for the rest of the skill tree, it's a lot of like generic damage stuff, so I go for LE damage, crit multi stuff, ES, all res. We get actually a fair amount of all res from the tree, because I was struggling with getting resistance on gear before I made the switch to this style. So keep that in mind. If you have better rares than I do, you won't need that at all. A bunch of ES nodes, a bunch of crit multi. We are CI, so our maximum life becomes 1. We're immune to chaos damage, which is nice. We have our Ghost Reaver, so we can actually leech the energy shield. It's really important. More crit multi, power charges, jewels we'll go over in a second. Some reservation here. We do need a little bit of reduced reservations because I have a lot of auras right now. I have Herald of Ice, Discipline, War Banner, and Aspect of the Spider for some deeps. A bunch of stuff for the Witch Cluster. We got lots of ES, lots of area damage, area of effect stuff for our Cyclone and our Ice Nova. I keep saying Frost Nova, I don't know why. Glacial Cascade. Power charges, spells, quicker multi, spell damage. All the way over into Templar for even more area. Some Dex mods, some more ES, spell damage, you know, all sorts of good stuff here. As for the jewels, so I'm using 2 different unique jewels, neither of which you need, but are both very powerful. I have a Watcher's Eye with energy shield recovery rate while affected by discipline. That is a more multiplier to how fast you normally leech. Since we have Ghost Reaver, we leech about 20% of our ES per second. This multiplies that by 30% to, what is that? Oh god, math is hard. 27%? I also have energy shield recovery rate on my belt. You can get a Shaper belt with energy shield recovery rate. That's another 20% more multiplier, so that would put us up to like 40% or something like that. Pretty solid. I also happen to have energy shield gain for each enemy hit while affected by discipline. That's nice while clearing maps, but you don't really need it. I actually have a chest mod with Recover Energy Shield on kill that gives me more ES than this ever will. So that's just kind of an accidental byproduct. Just go for the Energy Shield recovery rate mainly, and then if you can get like the on hit, great as well. And then I'm using an Unnatural Instinct because they're broken in this specific slot. So what this does is it gives you small passive skills in radius, grant nothing. Allocated grants nothing, but you get everything else that's unallocated. So I'm getting spell damage, attack speed, cast speed, life, movement speed, and 45 crit multi, some dex int from this one jewel. It's real dumb. I'm basically losing 12% spell damage, and I'm gaining all of that other garbage. All of these other nodes. It's really, really good, and very expensive because of that, but pretty worth it. If you can't afford this, obviously just take the attack speed side, take the jewel socket, and do whatever you want from that point. The rest of my jewels fulfill a couple different roles. They fulfill my resistance needs. I needed some lightning res and some fire res, so I got that on jewels. Make sure that your resists are capped and you have all of the stats required to equip all of your gear and jewels. After that, you just go for damage and ES. Attack speed is great. Crit multi with cold, crit multi with spells, crit multi while, oh god, with elemental, area damage, cold damage, spell damage while holding a shield, global crit multi, I don't think I said. Attack speed with swords, attack speed with one-handers. Oh god, what else is there? ES, all res, dual res, whatever you need, get here. I mostly went for attack speed and resist because that's what I was lacking. And then multi when I can get it. Nothing too crazy. I don't have any like quad multis, ridiculously expensive jewels. These are all like maybe an X or two, not too crazy. The most expensive thing is going to be this. I think this Watcher's Eye shouldn't be more than a couple X as well. But as for the gear, as I mentioned earlier, we're only wearing one unique. It's Cospri Malice. Oh, I forgot bandits. I always forget bandits. Kill all or kill Alira. Alira gives you crit multi and all res. I took Alira. As for Pantheons, I have Soul of the Brine King and Soul of Gruthkul. I didn't even bother maxing them because I did. It doesn't matter. But yeah, we're wearing one unique Cospri Malice. The mechanic of this is you trigger socketed cold spells on melee crit. Ice Nova is a cold spell, so anytime we crit with either Shield Charge or Cyclone, it'll spam that on like I think it's a 0.15 second cooldown for Cospris. Same as the Cast on Crit gem. It's pretty fucking fast. This thing takes a lot of intelligence to get, but our skill tree gives us a ridiculous amount of intelligence anyway, so that's easy. You hit things, you crit, they explode with your spells. Make sure that you prioritize the attack speed roll, because that determines how fast you can Shield Charge and Cyclone. After that, for the cold damage to spells. The flat cold damage is completely fucking irrelevant and doesn't matter. If you can get a double corrupted one with like pen and I don't know, attack speed, base crit, something like that would be ridiculously good. I don't even have that, so it's whatever. The rest of your gear is rares. Let's see, what would be the most important thing to get? You're going to want to get minus mana cost jewelry, which you can craft now as a veiled mod. So you can get incursion modded items that have flat ES plus percent ES, and then stats resist, whatever else you need. And then you just craft the minus mana cost onto it, and you're good to go. Same style ranks as mine. Yeah, but other than that, ES resist, whatever you need. Amulet. So this is where you get a lot of damage. You can get crit multi on your amulet. You can get global critical strike chance, spell damage, Ellie pen. What else? Endurance frenzy, power charge on kill would be nice. Mine's basically just multi pen and then like attributes. I needed a fair amount of strength, so I got it on my amulet, and then I have some global crit multi as well. Helmet. Life resist. I'm sorry, ES resist. You can get a little bit of accuracy, great. Intelligence, great, gives you more ES, but mostly just ES resist. Helmet enchant, I would actually recommend that you get the Glacial Cascade conversion enchant so that you can convert 100% of your Glacial Cascade to cold damage. I don't have it. It doesn't seem to matter that much, but it would be good if you convert to full Ellie, since then you'll get the full benefit of your Ellie penetration. I don't have that. Shield. ES, resist, spell crit, in that order. Intelligence if you can get it. Spell damage if you can get it, but not required at all. The spell crit's kind of nice, but you should have like a ridiculous amount of spell crit. Where is it? Like I have 40% chance without power charges on that, and on Glacial Cascade I think I have 57% chance before power charges and before Diamond Flask. I think I'm crit capped on my Glacial Cascade, which is kind of dumb. Boots and belt. Again, Shaper Belt, you can get Energy Shield recovery rate and cooldown recovery speed. Cooldown recovery speed is really, really important for this build. I have it on my boots as well. What it does is it reduces the cooldown of your Cospri Malice trigger spell and your actual cast on crit. This has a cooldown of 0.15, With enough cooldown recovery speed, you can reduce that down to 0.11. So instead of like 7 casts a second, you can up it to almost 10 casts a second. Really, really powerful for both of these items. It's a huge amount of single target boost, but for area clearing, it doesn't matter at all. But yeah, energy recovery rate, cooldown recovery speed, and then resist, ES, whatever you can get. If you can get an aspect of the spider somewhere, it doesn't matter where. On any jewelry, I think is fine. As long as you don't put it on an item that has stuff in it that will link to aspect of the spider and then therefore cause it to cost more reservation. So put it on a piece of jewelry is ideal. Boots, cooldown recovery speed, movement speed, ES resist. This is actually a life-based pair of boots. Like these have 82 ES. My chest has 470 ES. My gloves have like 200. My shield has 470, which is a lot. My helmet's got 350, which is decent. The shield is by far the highest part here. But again, if you had an 800 ES chest, you'd have more overall ES than I do. Gloves, I have Insanity gloves so that my shield charges really fast. But you don't need that. You can go for the base crit version. You can get socketed attacks have like 3.5% increased base crit, which means that you'll basically guarantee you always crit with your shield charge, which means that you'll cast your Ice Nova all the time. But I have these because they're great. Enchantment-wise on these, I'd recommend Commandment of Winter. It is an AoE cold projectile spell. So if something hits you, it generally dies to that because of how much damage this thing does. Where is it? This. Like, it hits like ball lightning repeatedly. So it's just crit, 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 then they die. And it's cold damage, so it scales off all of our other stuff. I'm trying to think what else I missed. Chest piece. So this is kind of interesting. I actually did not want to use this chest piece. I spent like 4 or 5 hours trying to craft a Elder version of this on a ID6 Elder one because I wanted to get the attacks have base crit modifier instead of spells have base crit, which would guarantee that I can do crits on Cyclone and Shield Charge even better, right? But I've been using this. It works perfectly fine. It has spells base crit, resists, ES, and recover on kill, which is actually a surprisingly powerful mod. 5% of my ES, oh god, what even is that? Like, is it 500? I get 500 ES on kill, and then I get all my ES on hit with my Watcher's Eye as well. It's like I have Volpact again, more or less instant leech on kill. It's real good. I recommend getting that if you're having issues struggling while mapping, surviving while mapping. Also, I forgot about enchants on boots. Go for the leech enchant, ideally. I have pen enchant because I was using these boots on a different character, and I didn't want to switch the enchant, so I just left it like this. But yeah, I believe that's all the gear, all the enchants, all that stuff. Let's go ahead and get into the gem links. Pull this back up. So, gem links for your cospris. This is one of your spells, right? I have Ice Nova linked to Hypothermia and Controlled Destruction. Hypothermia gives you more damage against enemies that are chilled, which is everything that we hit since we deal cold damage with our attacks and we crit constantly. They're always chilled or frozen, so we get that bonus on hit, which is pretty solid. And then Controlled Destruction is just a more multiplier to your spells. For your cast on crit setup, I'm using Cyclone. You can switch this to whatever you want. If you wanted to use, like, I don't know, if you wanted to use Blade Flurry, for example, it works pretty well with this. It's the same style character, you just change this one link to Blade Flurry. But Cyclone allows us to move while dealing damage, which is pretty powerful defensively and offensively. And that's linked to Cast on Critical Strike, Increase Critical Strikes, and Glacial Cascade. That'll be your 4 link. Once you get a 5 link, go ahead and add in Conch Effect, and then for your 6 link, add in Controlled Destruction. It just allows us to deal a buttload of damage with Glacial Cascade. Only when we need it. Most of the time you can just shield charge around. Aura setup, I have Discipline for that flat ES rate, or flat ES boost to everything. It's pretty huge. War Banner gives us an increased accuracy modifier. And if you really wanted to place it in a boss fight, you could get Adrenaline for like 2.5 seconds. But with how fast that Cyclone hits and attacks, you don't really need to use that. My Cyclone attacks per second is 5.1, and it hits multiple times, which is more than enough to crit 10 times a second in order to generate all of my casts per second. So, Discipline, War Banner, they're both linked to an Enlighten. I don't believe you need a level 4. You don't even need an Enlighten at all. I can still cast Cyclone 4 times. So, you don't need it. Level 3 would be fine. It's just like, it gives you a little bit of a wiggle room when you're using Cyclones. You don't run out of mana constantly. That's kind of annoying. And then I have a random Vol Righteous Fire in here. This is for a single target boost. You just drop your Vol Righteous Fire when you want to burst down something. It gives you 4 seconds of 39% more spell damage in exchange for a percentage of your ES. It's pretty powerful. I recommend using this whenever you want to kill something instantly. And my last aura is a Herald of Ice linked to a Curse on Hit Poacher's Mark. So Herald of Ice, whenever we kill a frozen enemy, it creates like an explosion around it. That explosion can hit enemies. It doesn't deal a lot of damage, but it hits things. So it curses on hit with Poacher's Mark. Poacher's Mark means that the enemies give us 100% increased flash charges, which is like being a Pathfinder. You'll be at full flash all the time. It also gives us frenzy charges when those enemies die, which is a more attack speed, more spell damage modifier for us. And it gives them less evasion, which means that our accuracy becomes even higher than it is here because it reduces the enemy's evasion by a shitload. And then it gives us mana on hit, so that helps us keep mana full while mapping. Pretty useful. I have a low-level cast when damage taken setup that is linked to Immortal Call. I'm sorry, Warlord's Mark. Warlords gives us life and mana leech and endurance charge generation when we kill those enemies. Yes, this is a low-level one, this is a high-level one. So the reason I have 2 curses and I can only use one at a time is because this is for clear. You get Poacher's Mark while clearing, and then for single target situations when you're fighting a boss, you get this leech modifier, which helps keep you alive and lets you sustain life, or ES, and mana leech while fighting a boss. That's why I have 2. You don't get both all the time. That's also linked to Frost Bomb. Frost Bomb gives enemies negative 25% cold resist. We are dealing primarily cold damage with Glacial Cascade and Ice Nova, so that's a lot of damage there for free. It just spams out all the time since this is a super low cast when damage taken. And then I have a low-level Ice Golem. This gives us some crit and accuracy. Not crazy since it dies all the time, but it also triggers all the time, so whatever. In my Shield Charge setup, I have Shield Charge linked to faster attacks fortify, and then increased critical strikes to guarantee that it crits all the time. If you have Insanity Gloves, put them in here. If you don't have Insanity Gloves, put it wherever else. You could be a special cookie and get like an Elder Helmet with attacks have base crit, and then put your Shield Charge up there if you wanted to. There's a lot of options with the wiggle room here. Oh, I forgot the jewel in my belt. So you're going to want to get at least 1 Onslaught on Kill Jewel. That's in your belt if you have one, or just put it in your tree. So you get that 20% attack cast movement speed while clearing. Otherwise, you just go for like ES Onslaught. Crit multi would be great. Attack speed if you dealt the crit recently is great. Pen if you haven't killed recently is good for a single target. Attack speed, there's a lot of options there, but prioritize the Onslaught and then go with everything else after that. But yeah, I believe that is the character. The paste bin will be linked in the description below this video. For Path of Building, you can just import that if you want to see all my gear, all my links all at once. The only thing that it doesn't remember is it doesn't remember bandits because it's stupid. Just remember that I took a Lyra. I don't have the skill points from that. Oh, I forgot Flask. I always forget Flask. Freeze Flask, Bleed Flask, Diamond, Basalt. Those are interchangeable, Freeze and Bleed. Wise Oak gives you cold penetration if you have more cold res than anything else, which I do. So that'll give me like 15 to 20% cold pen, which is a huge amount of damage. If you actually balance all these perfectly, you get 20% all pen, and you get 10% less damage taken, fire, cold, and lightning, which is really powerful. Quicksilver, so you can go fast, and Series Promise for some leech and extra chaos damage. Nothing too crazy. For Uber Elder, I swap in a second Freeze Flask instead of the Bleed Flask, and then I swap in a faster casting instead of the Curse on Hit for my Poacher's Mark, so that when I need to, I can manually cast Poacher's Mark to get that mana on hit to sustain against Shaper and Elder when I want to do a burst, and I don't want them to hit me to proc my Warlords. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the build guide. It is really fun and very versatile. I didn't want to use Frostbolt because it seems like everybody's doing Frostbolt Ice Nova. I like Glacial Cascade for single target better anyways. But yeah, I've been having a good time with it. It's a really strong character with a lot of room for improvement, and I have exactly 10,000 ES. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We are very close to 40,000 subscribers. When that happens, I will be turning in, I do a stream where all I do is turn in every single div card set ever. I'm missing, I think, the nurse and a couple other things, but it's really fun. We haven't done one since 20,000 subs. It's been a long grind, but thank you all for supporting me along the way. I will see you in the next video. And yeah, have fun discharging with your cold cock all over everything. See you in the next one. That'll be Demi out.